Hello, and welcome to the Quadruple Double
podcast.
I'm Liv,
And I'm Orion.
and today we're going to be talking about the top 8 teams in each conference. Starting with,
The East, should we start with?
yeah,
So basically, we're just trying to predict which 8 teams we think will be in the playoffs by the end of this year. So let's start with the Eastern Conference. Definitely the weaker conference. I think both of us agree on that. I had Detroit at 8th, 38 wins.
I had the Wizards because
They're not making the playoffs.
Oh, that's a pretty. That's what most people think. However, I think that with John Wall and Bradley Beal, even Otto Porter, you can't really go wrong, and they're going to squeeze in there at the end with 38 wins. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah, but again, the East is. If you have a losing record, you could still get in the playoffs. So.
Exactly. That's what.
I don't think they're making the playoffs. So I don't think they're gonna make. The playoffs.
I think just because they had a slow start doesn't mean they're not gonna make it. It just means that they had a slow start, just like the Rockets. The Rockets are gonna make the playoffs. It's evident.
Okay. So next out, Orlando Magic.
Ooh, Detroit Pistons, 41-41. What do you have, Orlando?
Orlando at 39 wins. The East is
another below 500 team.
Yes.
Oh God, you must think the East is awful.
Yes, it's going south.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think Orlando. The biggest statistic I use to measure predictions for playoff seedings is the strength of schedule tracker, and Orlando just has one of the easiest schedules remaining. And I know it's going to change, but as compared to a team like Miami or the Washington Wizards, as you say, I still think that Orlando's going to make the playoffs. This year they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to lose in 4 games, but they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, see, Washington isn't in comparison isn't even that bad. They're just 17th in NBA strength of schedule rankings.
Yeah, but no, they're I don't see their front office is terrible. They don't have good chemistry. Mm-hmm. They just got Trevor Ariza, which that trade actually went through, but they lost their only chance at a future in Kelly Oubre.
Yeah, that trade was pretty sketchy.
It was not a good trade. Essentially, Washington fans, your team is done for the year.
If they make the playoffs, it's a sweep.
Yeah, no. So next, I had the Charlotte Hornets. Sorry, the Kemba Hornets. It's really just Kemba Walker's
pretty
team.
much.
Did you have Charlotte? Or
I did have Charlotte, but
42 wins.
44 wins.
Okay.
I think that this is where there's a small gap. Charlotte's last subpar team. I mean,
yeah,
it's basically just Kemba and a bunch of other scrubs.
Yeah, no, Tony Parker's still playing well, but I think in terms of the talent level, that's as far as his team can get it, because Kemba is an amazing player, don't get me wrong, but he still isn't really a top 10 player in the league.
He could be one day, but I don't think...
He could be, but he's actually older. He's 31.
Exactly.
Actually, so...
And that's his problem. I mean, he doesn't have that many years left, and I really think if Charlotte really does care, they should just fully go in for that rebuild, because if they can trade Kemba to a up-and-coming team, hypothetically...
Just picks.
Yeah, and for picks. And then they can fully start the rebuild to, progress.
Okay. And as you said earlier about Charlotte being the last subpar team, I think we both agree that is where the drop-off ends, and these next 5 teams, I think, these are the top 5 teams, and then they already separate themselves far this year, and it won't be that hard.
Through the first 30 games, it's unprecedented who the top 5 are, and I think it's pretty obvious who the top 4 are, and I think we both have Indiana at 5.
We do. 51 wins, that's what I
50 wins.
Okay. I do think just because of the start that they are right now, 19-10, and Victor Oladipo isn't completely back yet. Yeah, 19-10. So Victor Oladipo still needs to come back, and Domantas Sabonis, shout out to him. They've got some underrated pieces. Nate McMillan is a really good defensive coach.
But the thing is, with regards to their defensive-oriented system, they need to learn how to progress on offense too. As far as Victor Oladipo can take you from there, they don't have that much.
Obviously, every team has improvement, even the Warriors, but I still think that they can be one of the better teams in the East. Unfortunately, if they were in the West, they might not even make the playoffs. So
it might be might be 12th even.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna put it out there.
Yeah, so we both had Indiana. I think that's fair.
Yep.
Next for you.
Yep. I have Boston at 55 wins.
I have Milwaukee at 50.
You have Milwaukee.
Yes, I do. they've gone a little bit cold. They didn't play with Chris Middleton and Malcolm Brogdon, who are two of the more important players on their roster. It's very unsustainable. I do think that, so Brogdon's shooting 50, 40, 90, again, props to him, but Middleton also isn't shooting really well, so it's probably going to end up evening out. But I think, and obviously Mike Budenholzer is one of my Coach of the Year candidates. I think he's done a great job. Because the Bucks had a very similar team to last year. All they just need is a good coach to piece it together.
Yeah. I mean...
But I still think just the way the other three teams are just better. There's no way to put it, honestly.
I see Milwaukee... I put them at second, actually. And the reason I put them so high is because I feel that I see them as like a Toronto Raptors team back in like 2015 where they're very strong in the regular season, but then they flake out in the playoffs. I mean, usually I'd put Boston higher, but like the way they saw them get dismantled in the early goings of the season, even though they're on an 8-game winning streak right now, that does not mean
there's still problems.
There are cracks in that seemingly
clear-cut rotation.
Yeah.
So I actually had Boston at 54 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So again, not that much difference. They're only one game ahead of Milwaukee. So really, those two teams are interchangeable for me.
Yeah.
If Kyrie, Giannis, or Middleton get injured, then both teams are plummeting. Still probably better than Charlotte, Orlando, and Detroit, but
in retrospect, I think I may have rated Milwaukee a little too high at 59 wins. But that's
59? Wow.
No, I have reasoning behind it. I think that the way their team's offense is producing right now, they're playing well against teams like Golden State, against teams like OKC. They are fighting strong, and they're fighting hard in the way Giannis can attack on the defensive end and the offensive end, and he's able to abuse his mismatches.
Yeah,
I think it can take them pretty far in the regular season, not so much in the playoffs.
The only problem that I see with Milwaukee is their three-point shooting. And you might think, what? They're shooting a ton of threes, they're hitting them at a decent percentage, but that makes them a team that lives and dies by the three. And in the playoffs, the number of free throw attempts gets higher, and obviously Giannis can draw free throws like one of the best players in the league at doing that.
He's still not Harden, though.
Exactly, but what I'm saying is that if you're always going to him, and he keeps on dunking the ball each time, that's great, but who would you rather have? Steph Curry hitting 10 threes or Giannis hitting 22 pointers?
Well,
right?
when you think about it, his 2-pointers are a lot more efficient.
Obviously, Giannis he was my MVP pick so far. We can talk about that another time, but I think that, especially for the playoffs, you need to have a good mix, and the Bucks just don't.
Yeah.
If Giannis is not playing the post, and Brook Lopez is not a good rebounder, so who do they have to rebound the ball? That's the only problem. I think that they're going to struggle with rebounding the ball, and if they're not shooting well, then that could really bring the whole team down. So
I don't know. I think
that's what I always think.
I think people underestimate Eric Bledsoe. He has flashes of greatness. He's had 31-point games this year. 30 games in, he may not be putting up the best stats, but there is room for him to improve, and there's room for him to progress. He's averaging 16 points right now, 6 assists, shooting 50% from the field. That's solid.
No, that's really good. But the thing is,
and his PR is like 20.
But that's not sustainable for him, and
it could be. We don't know.
But then you look at the point guards that he'll be playing against. He's still playing against Kyrie. He's been playing. He'll be playing against Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
He'll be playing against Kemba.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at all the bottom teams of the East, their point guards are not the best players on their teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that 53 wins is good. Boston, I think you summarized it pretty well. And next, I had Philly, 56 and 26.
I know you had them at second. My top four really had pretty decently high winning records. Like Philly for me had 57. I think it was really, really close between Milwaukee. I think it's going to be really close between Milwaukee and Philly. And I think that addition of Jimmy Butler, although it's been showing flashes of amazing potential, I think as the year progresses, it's not going to pan out as everyone thinks.
Yeah, have you heard? So there's always there's been these rumors recently about Joel Embiid not being happy with his role.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
That's the problem, because Joel Embiid has a future. Jimmy's good, but Jimmy's getting older, and He's not the talent that Joel Embiid is. If Joel isn't happy, then you could have a kind of a Kawhi Leonard situation last year where you end up trading him for a good player.
Or him not playing even.
I don't think it's gonna.
Is Joel that kind of player? We don't know.
I think he's that type of person, but I don't know. It depends how far Philly makes it this year, because I don't think his rookie contract ends next year. He hasn't actually gotten. I don't really remember what his contract is. Let me just check quickly.
While you do that, though, I think we both consensusly have the number one team in the East as the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
I think the reason I put them at 63-19 is due to the fact that I think they're going to slightly have the best record in the NBA, because the Raptors always have been a very strong regular season team. Even though Kawhi Leonard has recently been sitting out back-to-backs, their bench is so deep, and even when they have players injured like Valanciunas, they can reach so far in and grab hidden gems like Greg Monroe, who played he didn't play a lot last year.
But Greg Monroe was amazing. If you guys don't know, Greg Monroe actually was a starting caliber center for the Detroit Pistons a couple years. He was a double-double machine.
And Phoenix Suns. He was solid for the Phoenix Suns.
So I don't know. I put them at 62 wins. 63 doesn't really matter that much. They're going to probably beat 60 wins, and I don't see them having that much
best
trouble.
Best record in their franchise's history by far.
Yeah, also that, but in the East itself, definitely. Yeah. So going back to Joel Embiid, I was wrong. He actually, last year, he had a
extension.
5-year, $150 million extension. So
I thought it was 178.
178. Yeah. But I think only 148 of that is guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Joel Embiid his ego is he needs to be treated a certain way to play his best. Yesterday, nationally televised game, great game, Indiana, Philly. Joel Embiid had 40 points and 20 rebounds, 28 and 14 in the first half, without Jimmy. But in the end, he got into foul trouble. He took too many threes. His decision making is still not as good as it could be, but he's still young. But Indiana ended up winning by a comfortable margin, and it was close to the end. But that's the thing. That's a problem with Philly. With Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are not there yet at being closers. Jimmy Butler, as we've seen ever since joining Philly, and just as a player, he's a perfect closer. But when he isn't playing, Joel's not going to hit really any clutch threes. I can't see that. Ben Simmons is definitely not going to be hitting any clutch threes.
Well, I mean,
and threes, they're the biggest momentum changers when it comes to late game situations. And I can't think of anyone other than JJ Redick and Jimmy Butler that can hit those shots.
JJ is
that's the thing. So Raptors have also had trouble closing out games.
Like that game against the Pistons. Do you remember that? With that Dwayne Casey play. Not only was that disappointing, but it's frustrating because the Pistons, as we both view, are like a 8-7 seed. They're
losing record team.
Exactly. They're a team that the Raptors are most likely going to play in the first round. They're a team that the Raptors are expected not only to win in under 5 games. They're expected to sweep them. They're expected to obliterate them. And if we can't even beat them in a regular season matchup where their star players aren't even playing up to their full potential, then what's going to happen in the long run? And I remember you talking about Joel Embiid and his foul trouble. I mean, that tends to be a very constant thing with a lot of centers, like Andre Drummond.
Yeah, definitely.
And but I think there's some the better centers in the game. I personally don't believe Joel is the best center in the league because of that, and his ability not to be as disciplined. And,
I can see your
and in the way he and although generally I'm an NBA fan and I enjoy watching the trash talk and I think it's funny, I think that causes a lot more technical fouls and that risks him getting thrown out of the game. While someone like Nikola Jokic is a lot cooler, he passes better, and he's a lot just he facilitates and he's
Joel, I do think again he still seems to be a little immature.
Oh yeah, even for his age too. He plays like he's still a sophomore.
Yeah, and again, he's an amazing talent, and he should definitely be an All-NBA team. And he is in the running for the MVP, but efficiency already down, and that's the thing that worries me. If Philadelphia is a great team, but if their threes aren't falling, then that could cost them so many points. It's not like the Milwaukee that takes 40 threes a game and they live or die, because Philly could just post up every single time with Butler, Simmons, and Embiid and get buckets. But if they're not hitting their
Simmons
threes,
is a living mismatch, basically.
Essentially, yeah. Not entirely there yet, but possibly.
But he could be. He can
so, Yeah, if
Like Giannis.
if they're shot no if they're not hitting their jumpers and they're and they're in foul trouble, then I don't see how they can win because JG is the only guy who can hit 4 plus threes in a night.
Yeah, and
it's not like saying Jimmy's a bad shooter. He's not. He's just not someone who would hit 4 threes a night. And because even if he had half, that's taking 8 threes a game. Jimmy Butler's never taken more than 5 threes a game in his career.
I know, but you also have to take into account the loss of depth they have now. With players like Robert Covington, Darius Saric, despite that being an amazing trade for them, they lost a lot of depth at the small forward and the power forward position that they really could have used in a 7-game series against the Raptors.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the playoffs then, because if someone gets injured, then I can't see them. And Brett Brown, credit to him for for not getting fired over the last couple of years.
That must have been difficult.
I don't know how that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. It's not that he's a bad coach. It's just you see how quickly the Suns go through coaches.
Yeah, it's like if they're changing clothes.
But I think overall pretty similar East standings.
The West is where it gets.
The West.
Different.
Oh God.
I don't think our things are gonna be similar whatsoever.
Quick tidbit of information is that. So the team in the first place in the West right now is the Denver Nuggets, and the team in 14th are the Timberwolves, and they're only 6 games behind the Nuggets. So that's 14 different teams. 14 different teams, and the difference between the best one and the worst one in terms of record is 6 games.
The Orlando Magic actually are 13-15 and are the 8th seed in the playoffs currently.
That just shows you how bad.
And the Minnesota Timberwolves are 13-15 and they're 14th in the league.
There's just no. Every year they say maybe the East is caught up, but it hasn't been.
Not even close.
It's still not there yet, especially now that LeBron went to the West.
Oh boy!
Even if Kawhi went to the East, it's still definitely still.
I'm so glad they changed the different into a different format for the All-Star game, because it wouldn't have even been enjoyable to watch, because realistically the West would have just won by they would have scored 300 points and the East would have scored 100. It would have been embarrassing.
And it also would have just been more players from the West on the team. So
and less players from the West would be All-Stars. Someone like Chris Paul may not have even made the All-Star game, because
he won't be making All-Star this year. No matter how well he plays, even that's just the thing about the West. It's so good.
Yeah,
kind of pisses me off, but at the same time, it's how it works. Plays, So I'm just gonna tell you the standings of the Western Conference right now. So we have Denver is first, Golden State, OKC, the Clippers, Lakers, Grizzlies, Mavericks, and Trailblazers. So that goes to show that only 2 of those teams were in the playoffs last year. Sorry, 3: Portland, OKC, and Golden State.
And
3 out of the
OKC was a first round exit.
Yeah, Portland is
another first
half
round
game
exit.
ahead of Sacramento.
They got swept last year by a lower seed in Anthony Davis. They got swept, and that as if I was a Portland Trailblazers fan, straight up, I would have been embarrassed because
Dame and CJ
did not play up to.
They did not play.
Nurkic, excuse my language, got completely destroyed by Davis, and they didn't even need Cousins to do that.
Yeah, no, that just shows how good Anthony Davis is. So
definitely a top 3, Depoy and
Anthony Davis just accolades after accolades.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So my just letting you know, the Lakers aren't making the playoffs. They aren't making the playoffs.
Are not?
No.
Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I'm joking. I want to see your reaction. That's okay. No, they're making the playoffs. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. I know you walk out.
And just to put it out there, I'm maybe one of the biggest LeBron fans out there. So
bandwagons.
Okay, we're not doing this. Throughout these episodes, you're going to hear a lot of LeBron bias, maybe opinions from me.
Extreme bias.
Not extreme.
Extreme bias. But now moving on. So my 8th seed is Portland. 43 wins.
My 8th seed is New Orleans, 44-38.
Okay.
I think that injuries may riddle it. Without Anthony Davis, Julius Randle may have to step up, and when Anthony Davis is injured, because Anthony Davis will need to take some rest from all that backpacking he's doing.
Yeah.
There's going to be times when Drew Holiday and Julius Randle can't take the load of the offense, and the Pelicans will lose a plethora of games.
But the thing is, they're a really good team when they play how they should be played. They're like an average. They're a team that's kind of average at everything except for post scoring, because that's when Anthony Davis has those insane 40-point, 20-board performances. I don't know. He's had so many of those over the years. I do think they could still be even a playoff team without him. It just depends on how I don't think Drew Holiday and Julius Randle need to step up more than they already have. It's just about the rest of the players. Because Mirotic, they're going to get Mirotic back,
Oh yeah.
which is going to be really helpful. But it's just about cohesion and how well they can work together. So I actually don't have them making the playoffs.
Really?
I have them at 40, 41-ish wins. So let me just tell you this. Last year, Denver went 46-36 and didn't make the playoffs. They were one game behind both San Antonio and Minnesota, 2 games behind OKC, Utah, and New Orleans, and 3 games behind Portland.
Yeah.
So if they had won 3 more games, they could have been in third.
Yeah.
That just goes to show how close the West was last year.
And it's going to be close.
So
this
even
year.
if there's some teams that aren't in the playoffs this year that surprise you, that my opinion is it's not what you think, then they barely made the cut.
Yeah.
Or they barely missed the cut. So
okay. So 7th, I actually have the Memphis Grizzlies at 47-35. The way I view the Memphis Grizzlies is that they're a team in which they can beat practically anyone and no one will really be that surprised, and they can lose to anyone and they'll pretty not be that surprised.
they're kind of just there.
They're there.
That's what you're saying.
And that's what I mean. That's why I think they're a 7th seed. The reason I put them at so high is because I feel like it's going to be so close and the gap is going to be so small between Memphis and the teams above that, like, the win margin. And I think with Memphis' schedule as of late, it's going to get closer and closer to the point where, like, they're top, I think, 10 in strength and schedule rankings and ratings.
They are 12th right now.
12th? I thought they were 11th or 10th.
They still have a harder
Anyway, their schedule is not the hardest, but it definitely isn't the easiest. And I think that if Mike Conley and Marc Gasol can play up to their regular standards, then it will be a good season for Memphis.
Going to Marc Gasol, last couple of games have been a little low for him, I think, just because mobility is so important in today's game. Definitely more. It's been more important over the years, and there's people that have learned to thrive within people not. And Marc Gasol, I feel maybe in a couple of years he might have to pull a Brook Lopez. He still shoots threes, but the thing about Marc Gasol is his field goal percentage is a little low for a big man.
But he can fall back on his defense. He was a 2012-2013 deep boy.
He's definitely
defense.
And can shoot the three.
Mm-hmm.
Really good passer for a big man, and still a good rebounder.
Yeah.
But if he gets into foul trouble, or if he doesn't get his touches, or he's a rhythm player. I'm just gonna mention my favorite player in the league is LaMarcus Aldridge, and it's no secret that he is a rhythm player. If he doesn't get his shots up early or doesn't get that mid-range going, then he's not likely to suddenly turn around and have 20 points in a quarter.
Yeah.
That's not a knock against him. It's just the way he plays.
It's just a statistical
fact.
fact.
In addition, with Mark, I think that's where they're both very similar, Aldridge and Gasol. And that's how I had my standings. I had Memphis and San Antonio, both 44 wins, but Memphis wins the regular season series, and that puts them at the 6th seed, and San Antonio at the 7th seed.
You're high on the Spurs, and I'm just going to
I'm just a Spurs fan,
obviously.
and I do think
they're not going to make the playoffs. I know that hurts to hear, but it's a fact. DeMar DeRozan, despite how good he's been playing so far, LaMarcus Aldridge is getting older. He's going to fall off. DeRozan is going to become less and less efficient as the more shots he takes up. I see them as a 9th seed, and I see the Jazz as the 10th seed.
Okay.
And I think it's very close between them.
The biggest thing that matters for the Spurs is how many minutes Aldridge and DeRozan played.
Exactly.
The first month, the Spurs went at a losing record, and Aldridge and DeRozan played 37 minutes a game. And the defense for the Spurs has been terrible this year, but their last 4-game win streak, they've been great in defense. They look like the old Spurs. I don't think their defense is going to be as good last year. They lost Danny Green. They lost Kyle Anderson. DeJounte Murray's out for the season, and they lost Kawhi Leonard. Those were their top 4 defenders last year.
Can we do a quick pause and rest in peace to DeJounte Murray for his poor MCL.
Yeah, DeJounte Murray, get healthy, man.
Yeah.
We need you back. Even if next year, definitely going to be first team all defense.
Oh my god, now you're just being ridiculous.
Well, he was second team last year as a bench player.
But okay, we're not going to get into
Yeah, you're not going to insult the Spurs anymore. So I think, but lately, Aldridge and DeRozan have both been averaging under 32 minutes in December so far. And I think that matters for rest.
Popovich, why would he do that?
Play them longer than they should have. Well, the fact is the Spurs bad. Like everybody else was playing really badly. Rudy Gay is having a really good year this year. I'm very happy for him. He's looking like the old Rudy. He's being very efficient, which is definitely not really a Rudy Gay quality. Nothing against him, but this year's being really efficient. Really happy with that. And again, if Aldridge and DeRozan get their rest right now, they have this rodeo road trip, this 8-game road trip. They go as far as Toronto, and that's in February.
Rudy Gay's playing solid.
Yeah, like 49% from three. Shout out to Rudy Gay.
14 points a game, solid. 49, 52.
Yeah, so definitely, I think it's just minute restriction, making sure that their stars are rested for the end, because Aldridge and DeRozan are known for being playoff performers. It's not that Aldridge has been bad, it's just that he's always... Yeah. There was that year where he put up back-to-back 40-point games against Houston, and there's that year where Zaza Pachulia made me hate him forever. So it's just about making sure that they're healthy and rested for the playoffs, because DeJounte's not coming back, and it's not necessarily the smartest thing to get him rehabilitated in the middle of a playoff series. And the backup, the bench has been great. Bryn Ford, starting point guard, shout out to him, great shooter. But I think this is all up to Greg Popovich, man. Best coach of all time, in my opinion. And it's just, how is he going to make the teams? Well, obviously, but that's, again, another discussion.
Phil Jackson's, we're not going to.
Yeah, so that takes care of my 6 and 7 seeds.
I'll move into my 6 and 5 actually, because I think you have OKC pretty high rated.
I do.
But I have them at 5th, and I have Portland at 6th.
Okay.
49 and 33 and 50 and 32.
Okay.
The reason I think that Portland had even though they were 3rd last year, it was all about like how close the record.
Yeah, no, they lost 2 more games. They could have been out of the playoffs.
Exactly. So I don't personally believe that I think that they're a solid team, but I think that they're like a slightly worse version of the Raptors back in 2016 with although Dame is evidently better than Kyle Lowry, I think
it's just everybody else.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Valanciunas was better than Nurkic.
Obviously.
Minu and Harkless are good role players, but that's all they are.
Yeah, they're just role players, and they can't be like DeLon or Fred VanVleet or Siakam or Ibaka.
Ibaka's playing really well this year. Really happy for that. So I had the Jazz at 5th.
You put the Jazz in the playoffs.
And this is just because, again, my strength of schedule. They are the only team. So there's 15 teams with the easiest strength of schedule. Only 2 of those teams are in the West, and one of them. No, Portland is actually 13th.
Portland's 2nd. Look.
No, but that's. I guess we were doing different sites. But at least for my site, Tankathon, great site. They have Utah has the 4th best strength of schedule, and Denver's the other West team, and they have the 14th best. And I think Utah will benefit from that strength of schedule, and Gobert can still defend big guys, so I think that's what matters to him, because they're going to be playing a lot of games against Denver and the Thunder. So if he can lock up Adams and Jokic, then that's very key. The Jazz, I don't feel they found their footing yet. They're not playing as well as they could be. I think as of now they are, let me just check quickly. I think they have a losing record. Yeah. They're 14 and 16. But the thing is, they don't even they have a positive differential. So,
but the positive differential doesn't matter if they can't win games.
Yeah, closing games, but I think they still have a good team.
Well, I mean, like Rudy Gobert, although he's having slightly an off year, I think he's still very, very, very solid.
Very important to the team too.
Donovan Mitchell, although he is
struggling,
his sophomore season is still okay. I mean, last year nobody expected him to do that well. This year the expectations were a lot higher, and it's not that he hasn't come through. It's just that it's very hard when a whole team's relying on you offensively and you're only a sophomore to carry the load so much.
And I think the problem is Utah's home court advantage is so key just because they're used to playing there. Utah and Denver both.
Denver
I don't
with
know
the altitude.
So they're actually so Utah actually has like identical home and away records. But
I mean,
Denver is 11-3 at home and 8-6 away, and I think that's going to play a big part.
well, Denver's altitude is 1,609.3 meters above sea.
In any case, they're higher up than any other city.
And like Toronto, for example, Toronto's altitude is only 76 meters.
Yeah, so
So
I think it's just, and also this is why I didn't put the Dallas Mavericks in. They are 2-10 on the road this year.
oh boy.
So and they're not going to be a top 4 seed.
No.
No matter how well they
They're not
play.
even
So
gonna make
even
the
if they made the playoffs, they'd have to play.
Luka Doncic is amazing. DeAndre Jordan and
Is
Wesley
good. Harrison
Matthews, Harrison Barnes. They have a solid team, but solid sadly just doesn't cut it.
They're going to be a playoff team next year.
Yes, I believe with the development of Doncic and Dennis Smith, they're going to be a playoff team next year.
Yeah, and now this is where I see these 4 teams
Yep.
kind of comfortably riding.
Houston
Even though
Rockets.
standings. So I have the Lakers for.
Oh no. The Lakers are third. Houston Rockets 52-30. Although they are having a really shitty time right now, 13-15, not doing well. The actuality is that they're going to turn it around.
I don't
the
have Houston.
Celtics.
I don't have Houston in playoffs.
You don't have Houston in the playoffs?
I don't have Houston in playoffs.
What do you mean you don't have Houston in the playoffs? MVP last year, Harden. Chris Paul. They have one of the best centers in the game, and Clint Capella, one of the best defensive oriented. How can you argue against that kind of big three? A team that should have been in the NBA Finals this year could have won the
Shall
NBA
I
championship.
remind you of Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony?
OKC, again, I mentioned they're 6 at best. Like, you don't understand. Russell Westbrook, sorry Russell Westbrook fans, is a stat pattern. He's a me-first player.
But this year, he's been giving the ball more to other players, and
Like
look how
Paul
that's turned
George?
out.
But he's not going to maintain that because he's going to realize that they're not beating the Warriors, they're not beating the Lakers, they're not beating the Nuggets, they're not beating the Rockets. And he's going to become selfish again. It's just... Anyway, with the Lakers, I put them third at 55-27.
I have Lakers at 49 wins.
Oh my god.
I think because LeBron's gonna rest the season.
Oh,
That's-
of course,
that's all.
but he's still going to win MVP.
That's another discussion.
Yeah, another
that
discussion
you're
for
wrong
another
about,
day.
but that's
Oh,
another
God.
discussion. So, the Lakers, 49 wins is. They're going to be a team that, for a city that has such, the most media coverage out of any other city in the league.
Well,
out of
they
any
have
other
17
team.
championships, you
But
you think so.
they have 16 championships.
Oh, sorry, I'm mixing them up with the Celtics.
You're too high on the Lakers just because LeBron's on the team. But what I'm saying is that I feel like in the way they're kind of fly under the radar. They have a good current existing core, and they have a good
Ingram.
and they also have a great future too. So
and McGee. McGee could possibly be in the running for most improved. The way he's been.
But he's gonna get into foul trouble in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because he's a guy that relies on his athleticism. If he's guarding players like Jokic, he might block them once or twice. But players like Jokic are just smarter and they're better at drawing fouls.
Yeah.
And he can get there's times when he can make mistakes and if he's not touching the ball or blocking shots, he's kind of ineffective.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, now that you brought up Jokic, I have them at second at 57-25, 2 games.
You're really high on these teams with wins because because I don't have Houston in the playoffs, then they're
exactly
42, 41 wins.
You have a lot of teams at lower 40 wins, but that's because I believe that as the season progresses, there'll be a lot more discrepancy between the teams, more than you realize now, because the star players will start to shine. The real star players. These absent-minded teams like the Kings, who are in 9th right now, 15-13, that's not going to be a thing come April and May.
Oh yeah,
It's just not going to happen. They're going to lose a lot of games. They're going to go on 8-game losing streaks, something like that. I know there's nothing wrong with the Kings. They have De'Aaron Fox is amazing. Willie Cauley-Stein pretty solid, but I think that as time progresses, you're going to see the discrepancy show.
They're still too young, and I think that's what's going to show. I just want to point out that 3 years ago, Houston went 41-41.
Mm-hmm.
You might think that this year's team is better, but they had essentially their defense was still pretty good. They had James Harden, they had
Dwight
Patrick
Howard.
Beverly, they had Dwight Howard.
But you can't compare that to this year because
Chris
Chris Paul,
can I
one of
compare
the
him with
greatest.
the other teams?
Is Chris Paul one of the greatest point guards of our generation, if not the greatest?
Yes.
Exactly. and is he on that team?
But we're talking about 1 year. We're talking about 1 year here.
One of the greatest scorers of our generation.
James Harden?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have one of the greatest passers, one of the greatest scorers. You can't possibly.
The Lakers super team of 2012, Steve Nash.
Yeah, but the Lakers super team of 2012 had chemistry issues. There's no chemistry issues with Harden, Capella, and Paul. There's no chemistry.
But what if last year he's Houston versus Golden State. When Chris Paul got injured, it all went down.
Yeah, because Chris Paul was a core part of that team. Chris Paul.
What if he gets injured again? He has he gets injured.
He has a tendency. By the way, if we're just going to talk about the injury in the playoffs this year, that makes my blood boil. The Rockets, Chris Paul and James Harden are my second and third favorite players of all time, and the fact that Chris Paul got so close to finally beating the Warriors, they're up 3-2. He has the ball. They could have won that game. They could have made 1 and 6. They couldn't even need 7. But when he got injured, my heart just sunk, and it really, really sucked. Speaking of the Warriors, though, I have them on top, sadly, 62-20. 1 game back of the Raptors for best in the league.
Yeah, so quickly, just to catch up to you. So I had Denver at 52 wins in 3rd place.
Mm-hmm.
And Oklahoma City Thunder at 53 wins. Oh. And I know you're shaking your head right now, but again, going off strength of schedule, they have a pretty good strength of schedule.
Strength of schedule isn't. They don't. They
but
do not. They have the second worst.
I think it's just a matter of.
Because the Raptors twice, the Bucks twice, the Nuggets twice.
Russell Westbrook and Paul George are game-by-game players.
Oh, definitely.
They have games where they can go off for 40
Paul George, 47.
And they have games where Westbrook can shoot 3 of 16 from the field, and Paul George can have 20 points and 10 turnovers. They can have those games.
Russell Westbrook can be a turnover machine.
Oh, no, I'm not.
He had quadruple double the other day.
Yeah,
in turnovers.
Congratulations, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
But I think that.
Yeah.
I think that this year's team is better. They got rid of Carmelo. Mm-hmm. Steven Adams has gone better, and I think it's just if they make a trade, if they make a good trade on trade deadline, they can trade someone like Schroeder.
Well, Schroeder's a solid 6-man.
I'm just thinking that they need a shoot until Andre Roberson comes back. Do you think their defense?
Right now, what's their defensive rating? Out of curiosity.
Though their opponent points per game, they are 3rd in the West.
Yeah.
And
see, they're solid
5th overall, and that's without their best defender and Andre Roberson. And defense.
That's giving Andre Roberson a little bit too much credit. I think Paul George is the best defender on that team. 2.2 steals a game, top 3 in defensive rating.
That's this year though. Yes. Andre Roberson and
Andre Roberson is only valuable on defense. So
yeah, but he doesn't really take bad shots.
Does he?
No, he
shoots 3s sometimes. Andre Roberson should never be shooting 3s. Or free throws for that matter. Have you seen him for free throws?
I know. Okay, but that's a whole different matter.
Yeah.
That's why the Raptors beat the Thunder, because Danny Green would just is like what Andre Roberson could become.
Except if Andre Roberson was a combo guard who could score.
Yeah. Danny Green, by the way, great secondary addition to the Raptors.
Yeah, essential part of that trade. I think one of the better parts of that trade.
Definitely. We didn't get rid of Siakam and Anunoby.
Thank God.
But again, that's going to be another podcast.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Talking about the first one, but there'll be many more to come. And so I think that kind of sums it all up. We both have the Warriors. It's probably just going to be another boring year where the Warriors win another championship and that. But so thank you for watching.
Have a good night.